Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. So the Usyk-Dubois rematch has now been officially announced for July 19th at Wembley Stadium in London. No surprises there then. Most of us expected that this fight was going to happen next. There were some whispers in the boxing industry that this might not be a Riyadh season card, and I was wondering that myself due to the fact that this fight took so long to sign. Normally, Riyadh season fights are signed very quickly, but negotiations for this one seemed to drag on for an unusually long time. Perhaps the Saudis were not interested initially and had to be persuaded. Who knows? It's all irrelevant now anyway. The fight is on. This, of course, is for the undisputed heavyweight championship. Now, Team Dubois have already started trying to get under Usyk's skin, hoping to gain some type of psychological advantage. But there are two major problems with the mind games they're using. Firstly, they're predicated on lies and intimidation tactics. They're claiming that the low blow in the first Usyk-Dubois fight was a legitimate body punch when it blatantly wasn't. This is Jack Reese, a well-known referee and judge from the United States. He's been officiating for 26 years. Last year, he refereed the Crawford-Madrimov fight, for example. After the first Usyk-Dubois fight, he was asked by DAZN presenters Ak and Barak to clarify what constitutes a low blow in professional boxing, because there are a lot of misconceptions. A lot of casual fans, for example, seem to be under the impression that in order for a punch to be considered low, it literally has to hit you in the testicles, which is absolute nonsense. Jack Reese explained that a low blow is when the majority of the glove lands below the hip line. The hip line is measured horizontally across the top of the hips. The hip line is typically 1 or 2 inches below the belly button, depending on the individual. This is the punch in the first Usyk-Dubois fight. The majority of the glove is very clearly below the hip line. George Fox, the son of trainer Don Charles, tried to claim that Usyk's shorts were high in this fight, way above the belly button, therefore insinuating that a punch like this would be legal. This is yet another lie. Tyson Fury repeated this lie himself when he fought Usyk. This is a close-up of Usyk's shorts in that fight, and you can clearly see the top of his belly button here. So unless Oleksandr Usyk has some very strange anatomy where the top of his hips are down here somewhere, then George Fox, Don Charles, and the other members of Team Dubois parroting this stuff are liars. This is why the WBA, after reviewing footage of the incident, did not overturn the result or order a rematch. Team Dubois' appeal was unsuccessful. It was a low blow, and they all know it was a low blow, but they're trying to mislead the public. You got Don Charles out here calling Usyk a cheat. When a fighter gets hit low, he's allowed up to 5 minutes to recover. That's the rule. Usyk actually took less than 5 minutes. So what Don Charles is saying is literally slander. It's defamation. Don Charles was fired by Derek Chisora about 4 or 5 times. And on one of those occasions, he said he'd never work with Derek again because he has dignity and self-respect, and he won't allow anyone to treat him like some kind of toy. Words to that effect. But after he said that, of course, he did work with Derek Chisora again. So that's how much Don Charles' word is actually worth. Absolutely nothing. The man is probably the most desperate trainer I've ever seen in boxing. And since hooking up with Dubois, his ego has gone through the stratosphere, and his behavior has gotten even worse. He went on this tirade after the Joshua Dubois fight, accusing members of the media of having a vendetta against him simply for picking Joshua to win. Not a vendetta against Daniel Dubois, a vendetta against Don Charles. I've never heard such ridiculous paranoid nonsense in all my life. This man thinks the universe revolves around him. But anyway, Team Dubois are peddling lies about the first Usyk fight. And they're also trying to use intimidation. Dubois himself shoved Usyk during the face-off yesterday. And also George Fox tried to get under Usyk's skin by peddling these lame old lies about the first Dubois fight and acting belligerent. He threatened to knock a member of Usyk's team's head off. At one point, Usyk asked him how many pro fights he's had, and he was hesitant to answer at first, but he eventually admitted he's only had 5. Usyk then challenged George Fox to meet up with 4 members from each team and have a street fight after the Dubois rematch. George Fox then said, "You don't want to fight me in the street. I'll gouge your eyes out. Stick to boxing. I'll gouge your eyes out, trust me. You don't want it with me." Words to that effect. If George Fox genuinely believed he could beat Oleksandr Usyk in a street fight, his response would have been, yeah, okay, let's fight. But the response he gave was what people do when they actually don't want to fight, but are trying to save face. They try and dissuade you from fighting them by making all these violent threats. George Fox does not want to fight Oleksandr Usyk in the street whatsoever. Point blank, period. This is his professional record here. 4-1 with 0 KOs. He lost to Polish journeyman Kamil Sokolowski. So what we have here is another John Fury, an individual who's struggling to come to terms with the fact that he'll never beat the best in the world. So his way of coping with that reality is to act like being a heavyweight champion is no big deal. Because in a street fight, I destroy these guys anyway. Yeah, okay. That's what he tells himself to soothe his own ego. That's what he wants people to believe after they look at his boxing record. But the reality is, Usyk offered him a street fight after the Dubois rematch is done, and George Fox tried to talk his way out of it. That's what he did. His dad, Don Charles, always fancied himself as a tough guy as well. He wanted to fight David Haye after that altercation with Derek Chisora in Germany. David Haye at the time was 31. Don Charles was about 50. Haymaker dusted off Derek Chisora and Don Charles single-handed in that altercation. Dropped Chisora and actually broke Don Charles's jaw. So what made him think that he could beat Haye in a one-on-one after that is anyone's guess. In fact, he's still salty about the David Haye thing even now, 13 years later. Chisora moved on. It's all water under the bridge for him. He even hired David Haye as his manager. But Don Charles, no. He's still bitter and twisted after all these years. And this is a guy who claims to be a Christian. What happened to forgiveness? Anyway, that's Don Charles for you. He and the rest of Team Dubois are trying to get under Usyk's skin by using lies and intimidation tactics. But the problem with that is Tyson Fury and his team already tried all that and it backfired. You see, Usyk is not just an elite athlete. He's also an honest fighter. And what I mean by that is he doesn't rely on mind games or intimidation or illegal tactics in order to beat you. He doesn't rely on being the A side or dodgy judges. He doesn't try and make up excuses to avoid fights and mislead the public. He doesn't wait for you to deteriorate before he's willing to fight you. No, this guy's old school. He'll fight you anytime, any place, anywhere, and he'll do it right now. This guy's the real deal. He wins fights on skill, intelligence, fitness, toughness, and heart. There are no gimmicks. You're not going to get the psychological upper hand on a guy like this by using lies and intimidation. It's not going to work. He's too real. See, that kind of stuff only works on lower level fighters. It don't work on elite guys like Usyk. It's a waste of time, and in fact, it's probably going to backfire. Because apart from father time and wear and tear, which catch up with all fighters eventually, the main thing that could hasten Usyk's reign at the top is lack of motivation. Now look, we all know that Usyk is the consummate pro. He's a pure athlete, totally professional, trains like a madman, but he's still human. And when you've achieved all that he has, when you've made all the money that he's made, and when your life is as wonderful as his is, you're not going to be equally motivated by every opponent. Some opponents are going to motivate you more than others at this stage. Igis Klimas actually spoke about this on TalkSport the other day. Usyk needs a challenge. He needs to feel threatened by an opponent. He needs to feel like he has something to prove to people. And so Team Dubois, the way I see it, are giving Usyk all the motivation he needs. They are literally playing right into his hands. They'd be much better off doing an Andy Ruiz against AJ, playing it all nice and humble, trying to lull Usyk into a full sense of security, making him feel comfortable like it's going to be a walk in the park. That's what you want to be doing. But these guys have obviously learned nothing from Tyson Fury's mistakes or their own mistakes. Don Charles and Frank Warren picked Fury to stop Usyk both times. Now you can forgive Warren because he's Fury's promoter. What else would you expect him to say? But Don Charles has nothing to do with Fury. Yet he still picked him over Usyk twice. The energy of the Dubois camp is off right from the start. And this is a fight that Dubois does have a decent chance of winning, in my opinion, if he plays his cards right. I certainly would not make him the favorite, but I would give him a 40% chance of victory maybe, if he approaches the fight in the right way, tactically and psychologically. And speaking of psychology, Dubois has seemingly come of age since the first Usyk fight, coming through those firefights with Miller and Hrgovic and blasting out AJ. But the thing is, Daniel Dubois has never been afraid of trading punches with anyone. He actually likes to trade. He's never been deterred by getting hit as long as he can hit you back. Many of us have speculated that Daniel Dubois may be on the spectrum. And if he is, then that means he processes things a bit differently to a neurotypical person. He responds to situations a bit differently. People with spectrum disorders are typically very pedantic about regimen and routine, and they can become upset or disturbed if their routine is broken. So my hypothesis is that Daniel Dubois is not discouraged by getting hit. He's used to it, as long as he can hit you back as regularly as he's used to as well, because that's his routine. That's why he held it together against Miller and Hrgovic, despite getting hit a lot. Whereas in the Joyce fight and the first Usyk fight, he was getting hit a lot as well, but he wasn't able to land his own shots as often as he's accustomed to, nor hurt his opponent when he did land, low blows notwithstanding. And that, I suspect, is why he broke down psychologically and eventually quit in those fights. He was discouraged by the fact that he could not land the number of shots that he's used to landing. His routine had been broken, which made him feel uncomfortable and led to him checking out mentally. Because he really wasn't hurt in the Usyk fight, nor was he physically exhausted, in my opinion. He just had a psychological meltdown. Now, if I'm wrong, and I very well could be, this is just a hypothesis, if I'm wrong, then the next time Daniel Dubois is in a similar position, where he's getting hit a lot, but is unable to land his own shots or hurt his opponent, if I'm wrong, then the next time that happens, Dubois will not quit. But if I'm right, then the next time he finds himself in that scenario, he's going to quit again. Could it happen in this Usyk rematch? We shall see on July 19th. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Are you surrounded by mindless bots in human form who adhere to the norm and blindly conform? Who swallow all the mainstream BS and actually ridicule you for questioning things? Do you wish you had more free-thinking individuals in your life to network and converse with? Well, look no further. We're right here. Come and join the Brotherhood of Reason on Patreon. You'll gain access to my weekly topical content where we take deep dives on an endless variety of subjects, as well as my vast back catalogue of podcasts, videos, interviews, movie decodings, and my Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You'll also get to talk and network with myself and hundreds of other people in our members chat. You can enjoy all this via the Patreon app or on desktop and download all my podcasts in high-quality MP3. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store, or simply visit patreon.com on a web browser. Then head on over to my page and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android, because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.